friends here with me live. I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. We are going to be talking today about what is happening on the planet right now in terms of why there is so much attack taking place as far as the water, the air, the land, the elemental body. And this transmission is a 48-hour preparation phase of just receiving really what wanted to come through, because one thing that feels very important is that when you see updates from myself or anyone else about what is happening in the interplanetary Templar, right? So what is happening on the spirit body level of the planet with the reclamation of the planetary Templar, the reclamation of the gates, the stargates, the new grid system coming online, we are talking about the inner domains. And I think that there can be some confusion that happens when we talk about these really big successes that are happening on the inner domains of the planet without sharing what this means for the external outer domains, the 3D manifestation of what we're actually experiencing here in our day-to-day lives. And why this is important, I had someone actually reach out to me, a friend of mine, was like, you know, when you share all these amazing things that are happening, like why aren't they showing up in our material world? And so I wanted to break that down today. And I also wanted to just be honest and transparent about some of the things that are going to be happening this year. Like a lot of people went into this year, and I talked about this inside of 7, with this notion of like, it's going to be an amazing year, right? Rabbit year, all the energy. And without actually really looking foundationally at what's going on the planet. And it is not going to necessarily be this beautiful, no challenge, no struggle year. And there's a desire inside of people collectively for that to happen, for us to just get to a point where we can breathe and not feel so stressed and so much chaos swirling around us because of the last 2.5 years, three years now, since really the end of 2019, 2020, 2021 though for sure. And you know, people are wanting to get to some place where they can relax and they can breathe, and that is because they're determining currently their ability to relax and breathe based on what's happening outside of themselves. And that's no longer going to work here, because things are going to continue to get more chaotic and increasingly more potentially violent in a lot of ways. And why this is going to be happening, we have to kind of go back a little bit, and I'm currently looking around for something I can draw on, because you know I get into this mode where I need to like give you diagrams, and there's nothing for me to draw on. 1 moment. Okay, guys, just in case we need it. So I like to use the analogy for the inner domains like a stone that we're dropping into a pond. So when you throw a stone into a pond, that stone creates the first ripple and then continuously creates more and more ripples until it goes as far out into the outer edge, the outer domains of the pond and the ripple. Where that stone drops in is what we call the core of the shield. The core of the shield is the central point of the energetic field that first receives an activation, an energetic influx of frequencies. When these energetic influxes come through, they come through that core of the shield, and then the beings that are closest to the core of the shield are often the ones that are physiologically running these frequencies through their body. And then from there, it spreads out, 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 and it ripples out. So what's happening at the center takes some time until that external ring develops. So even though we've had changes at the center, the ripple has not completely gone out. And people need to understand that this battle, if we want to call it that, for this planet, that has really gone far beyond this planet, right? We have to go into like hundreds of millions of years of story to understand really when this drama began playing out in our time matrix that we are currently experiencing life and consciousness through. So we're talking hundreds of millions of years from the Orion Wars through the fall of Tara to our days on Earth now, where some call them fallen angelics, the fatali, the inorganic, artificial matrix seeded its virus into this planet, right, and into the planetary Templar. So as it has been, they've had control over many of the gates, the star gates, the temple sites, the vortices of this planet, and they've been utilizing the inner domains to pull and siphon energy through. Because in an inorganic, artificial construct, the connection to source field is cut off. This is why in the Kabbalah tree of life, we have 10 centers, with the 11th and 8th centers removed from the original Christic Cathara grid, the 12 centered, right? That base 10 inorganic, artificial, geometrical matrix, and the Christic base 12. Excuse me for a second here. So because in these inorganic spaces, that 8th and 11th centers that allow us to plug into the source field at 12 are pulled out, really hijacked is better yet, we cannot actually be resourced in that space. That's how it has been. So these inorganic spaces, what they do is they feed off of life forces instead to fuel their creation. So what that has looked like is going in to the actual planetary Templar and feeding off the inner domains and siphoning energy from the spirit body level, at a spirit body level. This is why souls have been trapped in these reincarnation cycles here. And at that level, right, that level is really what has been the primary focus over the last several hundred, really thousands of years now, as Yeshua stepped into this space really at the beginning of some of the Templar work, so that we could be here today. So the last update that Alex and I came on and shared, we talked about how at this point, you see other people talking about, at this point, the inner domains, the spirit body Templar of the planet has been fully reclaimed by the Guardian Alliance, by the organic template of the planet has been restored. The new grids are coming online. The stargates have been reclaimed. What that means is that the inorganic can no longer siphon energy through that. Now, they have been feeding off this planet for a very long time. If you have ever cleared a parasite from your body, you will understand this, right? You can't just decide, I'm going to clear some of these parasites, or better yet, like long-term viruses, retroviruses that go dormant in people's bodies. Lyme disease is a really great one to talk about. Epstein-Barr virus, right? These things get dormant, they go lodged, and they will hide themselves inside of your cells, inside of your muscles, inside of your tissues, inside of your bones. And you can't just decide, I'm going to get rid of this and it's going to just be gone, and I'm going to do the cleanse and it's going to be gone. These things have relied on our body to live, to thrive, right? So they will hold on. these intelligent retroviruses, they will literally, some of them can pretend to be something else. They will shift their vibration to survive. So what is happening now? And we knew this was coming. Those of us that have been actively participating in the inner Templar activations, we were told by the guardians, there is going to be fallout. There is going to be a shift in how these energies try to harvest and feed off this planet, as well as control the people. We knew this was coming. What they're now doing is they can only siphon energy from the external domains of the planet. So this is the elemental body of the planet. This is the earth, water, air, fire, right? All the elements of the planet, as well as our physiological body. Now, I want to touch briefly on a dream that I had, this lucid dream, which was really more it was a very interesting experience where I was with one of my guardian teams and we were in council, and they knew it was very important that I had to see what I was about to see. And basically I was watching as the technology was being siphoned off of certain whales, which is also why there are a lot of whales that are dying right now on the planet, because they're harvesting something off of their frequency band right now and turning it into basically it was an injection. Now, I am not going to verbalize certain things, because if I verbalize certain things on this, then this video will not be able to be seen, and we don't want that to happen. So those of you that are watching this, please know what I'm referring to, that has been mass produced and put into people's bodies over the last couple of years. So in this, what these things that are being put in people's bodies do is they freeze and paralyze the shona, the light quotient that has come online in someone's body. And through doing so, they are then able to continue to siphon energy off of those people who have received that. And they are able to siphon and harvest energy through the actual external domains of the planet. Now, they knew that this day was coming, which is why that thing was created in this whole area, because we've been reclaiming the inner domains of the Templar for a very long time, and they knew their time was up of that phase. So all of these external attacks, the train accidents, you know, the shooting, the fires, the wars, the violence, the things being shot down from the sky. This is all their way of trying to continue to pull energy and to maintain their last bits of control. Now, the way that this is going to play out, they've already set it into motion, which kind of ridiculous, because it is only going to, again, ensure that the organic intelligence is going to continue to rise, is now that they've brought in the UFO and the alien, right, agenda, Project Bluebeam, into the space. How it has been is that guardian alliances, the extraterrestrial guardian races, they have not been able to come in and physically intervene here, because there have been agreements that have made that that cannot happen on either side. Bringing in extraterrestrial life for the inorganic agenda is going to override and nullify those agreements and allow for guardian extraterrestrial life to now come into our domain. We've been opening a site on the planet to allow them to be able to bridge through for the last 2.5 years. Several of you have been participating in it. Once that happens, the control of even the outer domain, the physical planetary body, is no longer going to be possible. That timeline I'm just trying to remember. It is this year. We went through it step by step inside of 7. If anyone didn't join that and go through it, you can join it. It's 7 hours of really looking at the full chronological breakdown of the energy of this year and the things that are going to happen. That being said, I believe it was around fall that the alignments are going to come in, where there is this period of instability that's going to look like a tremendous amount of chaos, and the potential for these extraterrestrial fallen races to come through, and then after that, allowing guardian races to come through. Whilst some like to believe that we are in a spiritual war at this point, I wish to convey that we actually are not, from the space that once the spirit body has been reclaimed, there's really nothing else that they can do long term to continue hold over this planet. Now, that's very difficult for a lot of people to grasp when they are very much living through the virus of the victim-victimizer base 10 programming that is literally embedded into the cellular intelligence of the body and of the planet. Because that has people looking out into the world and seeing abusers, seeing separation, seeing problems, seeing struggle, seeing all these different dynamics, and not going inwards to connect in their spirit body to what is real, what is true. So they're projecting out into the, quite frankly, the delusion of separation and the delusion of this programming that overlays their ability to actually see this spiritual intelligence of the planet coming alive. Those that are connected within and have developed their inner technology of their body and their spirit body to be able to connect with the spiritual intelligence of the planet, which we are a part of, being here in her skin suit, can feel and sense and know that while the external world is looking a little chaotic right now, we know that it is what is within that eventually flowers in the external. So we basically just pushed out from the inner domain thousands and thousands and millions of years worth of harvesting off of the planetary Templar. We pushed that out of the inner domain and banned it and reclaimed the inner domains to this planet's organic intelligence. So if you've ever processed anger before, right? Anger comes up and you have to release it out. And what happens when you release it out? Well, if you aren't in an environment where it is a proper place to release that anger out, that anger could be released and it could cause harm to someone else. Maybe no one's there and it causes harm to your wall when you throw a ball at it, right? When things get pushed out from within, they have to ripple out like the stone dropping in the pond, and it has to ripple out into the outer domains. That is what's happening right now. Everything that we've reclaimed on the inner domains has been pushed out. It is now trying to fight to hold on. That being said, it cannot though, right? Because the inner eventually will continue to push out into the outer. That is the period that we are growing through right now, the cleansing now of the outer. Will it get miraculously better? No. And I think that this is one of the difficult things with, I was having a conversation with someone, I can't remember who the other day. It was sparked by a comment on my friend Opal's post. And we were just talking about, maybe it was with Alex, how, you know, we know about the false light new age agenda. And I was just sharing, like, I just really celebrate what an amazing job this consciousness did. Getting to a space where we can just like be awareness, acknowledging creation, and like be in awe of everything that's happening, even things that someone else, some other version of ourselves would deem as a problem or evil or bad or wrong because it's still in that victimizer programming. Like, we can really see, like, wow, it really did its job. And that job was to ensure that at this moment in time, people did not trust their spirit. And they did not have a clear connection to their soul and to God. Because for the last 2 decades, mainstream, more like, maybe 40 decades in the fringe networks, 2 decades mainstream, it has been pushed into the collective, very close half-truths that keep people from deeply trusting their spirit. One of those half-truths was that everything was just going to miraculously change and transform, and we would all be saved in this moment. We'd all just rise and ascend out of here together. And why that was a dangerous half-truth is because ultimately that is not going to happen, right? That's not how the fundamental mechanics of creation works. There is a process of how energy moves from the inner domains into the outer domains, and how creation down steps into the material world. And structurally, because this is a structure, right? This is a highly intelligent, elaborate system of equations that has built this structure of this planetary body. It is ultimately very intelligent. It has a very clear creation process. And if you understand that creation process and you go within, you can understand then why certain things have to play out the way that they're going to play out, and why there is going to be a period of chaos throughout the 20s, right? We knew, and if you go back to some of my 2019, 2020 videos, what did I say? Expect chaos throughout the 20s until like 2035. It's just what's going to happen. It's just how the down-step creation process takes place, how time moves here. 10, 20 years seems like a really long time when you are under the delusion that your body is only going to live for 80, right? Feels like a long time. 20 years to a multi-billion-year-old planet is like that. It's the blink of an eye. 20 years to our higher selves is laughable that we would ever complain about that. So it's important to have perspectives. And if we are looking out at what's happening in the world right now through our smaller self, through the lens of ego, through that victimizer programming, this is going to be a very difficult period where a lot of people are going to leave the planet. Right? So our work as those who are spiritually attuned, which every single life on this planet is spirit and holds the capacity to attune to what they truly are, to have access to this wisdom, to develop their inner connection to source, and to become resourced with the organic system of the planet again, so that you are not impacted by the destruction that is going to be happening around us. We are still amidst the Kali Yuga, the period of destruction. Destruction is not something that we ought to fear. The only reason we fear destruction is because we have been conditioned and manipulated to believe in death by an inorganic intelligence. because our organic intelligence is eternal. And our bodies hold the capacity to also be eternal. So when we are living through this program, and you know, maybe this is probably not the video for this right now, because we have to go deep into a lot of mechanics, and this is just not the space for that. We have to understand, though, that this victim-victimizer programming that has been this virus that is overlaid over our Viveka, over our connection to be able to plug into source, creating this artificial webbing of the base 10, right? This has been in play and developed for almost 500 billion years, right? This is a very intelligent consciousness. And at this point, it's literally injected into the framework of everything here. So actually coming out of it takes a tremendous determination and a tremendous devotion. It takes someone not only waking up to the truth that they are spirit in form, waking up to that truth, and then deciding to focus on it fully. And that makes you look very crazy for periods of time. You know how many times I've been called an absolute crazy lunatic, and how many times those people 5 years later come back thanking myself, others, and apologizing, because this is what we all are. And there's no escaping our destiny, right? There's no escaping this planet rising at this time. There's no escaping what's going to happen. And there's no need to, because we are not victims. We are powerful creators. And the more of us that come online during this period of time and attune to spirit and to devote themselves to that deep inner work internally, the more grace that will begin to flow through this planet, the more people will wake up and they will stop buying in to all of the external lies. And they will no longer be creating this field that is being siphoned off. Once the food is gone from this planet, there's nothing like in your body. If you have a clean alkaline body, you know, all your biome is functioning fully and thriving. You don't have an overgrowth of candida or excess fats or excess, you know, high levels of sugar and toxins, heavy metals. Parasites love heavy metals. If you don't have all these things in your body, and you, let's say, go to Mexico or Peru or the jungles of somewhere in the world where there are just bacteria that are not native to your biome, and you take them in, and someone who has a bunch of heavy metals or candida or mold or whatever in their body, they're going to take that parasite that comes in, is going to be like, yes, this is a new home that has a lot of food. I'm going to live here in their belly, and I'm going to start making them really sick. And they're going to now have chronic pain in their lower back and headaches and migraines and maybe even seizures for the rest of their lives. And I'm going to stay curled up in their little intestine, eating all this food. And then the other person who doesn't have those heavy metals anymore, because they've devoted their life to becoming pure, virtue 2, purification. They drink that same water, that parasite comes in, that parasite's like, there's nothing, I can't live in here, there's no food. In fact, they're actually ingesting the things that are killing me right now. The high level herbs, right? The high level water after when they get home. There's no home for me, this parasite, to feed off this body. So I'm gonna die and be passed out and released. Our goal right now is to become inhospitable hosts for parasites, both internally in our physical bodies and energetically. this is where the path of the virtues has been just a monumental path, and like really understanding how creation mechanics play out and how the virtues and our values really dictate the ability of our body to become hosts for things that are not serving God, that are not serving, our soul's evolution and growth, that are actually intentionally hijacking, pulling us away and pulling us back into the drama cycles of the victim. And I can't make these decisions for you, right? I can't force someone to decide that they're going to prioritize their health and wellness, that they're going to prioritize showing up for their spiritual growth and development, their karmic healing, their ancestral clearing, their reconnection to the planet and to spirit, to God, to source, right? No one can force that or inflict that deep inner work and choices that people have to make in this world. And all the things that one has to, there are many, we'll call them bumps in the road of making those choices that are here, and they've been placed here intentionally by this inorganic matrix to trick people into not taking those steps. One of the big ones that I love to help people get out of is money, right? People think, oh, I can't make these choices and do these things because I don't have the money, and they don't even realize that the money that they're talking about is fiat, it's fake, it's not even organic resources anymore. It's literally created by this inorganic intelligence to trick people, right, into believing that they do not have enough, they are not resourced. I can't make these changes, I can't make these commitments. Instead of shifting these inner narratives, doing that deep inner work, right? And you will find that on your path, when you are truly deeply committed and you have, for me, I'll share that my turning point was marrying myself on Mount Shasta in 2015. I just left Los Angeles. This was Jessica, and basically was like, I'm fully surrendered to God's plan, and I will be homeless. I will do whatever it is that I need to do, because there is no other path for me here in this life. There is no other way. This is it. This is why I'm here, and that is it. And I'm going to wed myself to this path, which is why I always, for the most part, have on my wedding ring. And it is not to any other human being. It is to God. It is to soul. And when you make those deep inner commitments, the resources drop in. The people who are here to support you show up. And you get the first steps that you need. And oftentimes it comes through some soulmate that is saying, hey, I'm going to show up and support you because I love you, because you're my soulmate, you're my soul family, without charging you a single dollar, because I'm already resourced over here. And it's likely not going to be the person that you maybe think it is on the internet. It's going to be someone who isn't in your soul family, who's literally showing up and saying, let me support you. Let me love you. Let me offer you what I am holding so that we can grow, because we're soulmates, we're soul family, which means I am only growing as far as you grow in this life. And once we get that, we start to operate more as a unified whole, and the shifts happen so much more efficiently. Then you get to a point where there are other people you're here to support, and those people, there needs to be a different energetic exchange, often including money or an exchange of something else, because there isn't a certain contract in that way, right? Not everyone is here to just offer themselves in service to everyone freely. Usually it's just one person who is that catalyst for you at each stage of your development. at each dimensional, really more like density level. So I know I've gone on several different tangents here. Let's see if there was any comments that show up. And unfortunately, Facebook is a little weird here. It doesn't let me see any comments. Transmute and transcend emotions are simply part of this existence. Yes. So I hope that this has been supportive. And, you know, there is just such a deep peace that can be reached when we choose and prioritize our spiritual development. This is why my brands, right, my business, my company is called Soulful Luxury, because truly the most valuable luxury asset that we have to invest in this life is our connection to our soul. And through that, our connection to our oversoul and our monad. And when we prioritize that with our assets, with our resources, when we follow that impulse to go be a part of something where someone we know is leading that way and they're holding these frequencies, and we want to immerse ourselves, because I get it. Like, it's not easy to make these internal shifts. I was just on a call with a friend who's like wanting to join the path of guidance in the 13th dimension. And we were talking about, it's not easy to necessarily make big leaps and changes in our lives without support. This is why we prioritize support. This is why mentors have been around forever, right? We've had mentors forever. They've just been changed and altered by social media. And everyone thinks that they are here to be mentor, which is not always the case. Not everyone is here to guide. Some are here to elevate. Some are here to activate. Some are here to inspire. Some are here to create and be artists. Some are here to build. Some are here to architect. This is what it is. So my friends, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm here for questions. So please, if you're watching this replay, leave them in the comments. I will get back to them. There's something that I want to share, and it's just coming through right now. So give me a moment. And it's really a message from the guardian teams that I commune with and translate on behalf of. And they're just saying it's going to be all right. All of the big changes that are going to happen, just the way that certain things are playing out. One last thing I also want to share here is while it seems very in our face this week, between the shooting down of these balloons that they've convinced people are UFOs, which technically they are, because there is this programming that everyone relates the terminology UFO with extraterrestrials, even though it really just means unidentified foreign object. So anything in the sky that's unidentified, foreign, is a UFO. Just remember that, because they're going to try to trick and manipulate people in a lot of ways, because there is a lot of extraterrestrial support that's going to be coming in, extra dimensional support as well. It's already here. The ways that they have been working with the elements, they have also lost control over their ability to interface with the bands of the earth, the aurora bands of the earth that have been brought online. So a lot of their weather modification technology is no longer working either. Yay. We've been witnessing that on our land. They've been trying to chemtrail, trying to create storms. It just hasn't been working in the way that it used to. We used to know, okay, beautiful skies, chemtrails come, we know there's going to be storms, because they're engineering them. That's no longer happening, right? So a lot of their technology is going offline. We're just seeing these explosive things now, because what they're really trying to do is scare people into violence, into fear. And it will be successful for anyone that's not doing that inner work to free yourself from the victim-victimizer programming and to return back to virtue and value. And that's really what the path that we've laid out inside the 13th dimension is all about. A deep, intimate space where we have the time and the connection and the practice to go in and really reclaim our inner peace and our inner freedom. Because then we can be here amidst the storm, and we are the calm that changes it. We are the calm that shifts it. We are the light that births new world. And with that, I love you all so much. I appreciate you. We do open up and begin 13D on March 3rd. So if you are curious about any of the paths of entering this space, send me a message, check out my links. I'm here to dive in to any discussions around it that feel relevant, to help you to understand and feel into if this is the space that's going to allow you to flourish in the ways that you're calling for right now. And I will see you again all real soon.